Your morning cup of tea isn't what you think it is. That comforting brew you're drinking right now, it might contain plastic, pesticides, and chemicals that have no business being anywhere near your body. I've spent weeks investigating UK tea brands, and what I discovered will make you pour your current cup straight down the sink. Some of these so-called premium brands are selling you dust, artificial flavoring, and leaves contaminated with substances banned in food production. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to reveal exactly which 7 tea brands are lying to you. The ones using the cheapest ingredients, the most dangerous additives, and the most deceptive marketing. By the end, you'll know exactly which teas to avoid and what you should be drinking instead. Number 7. Tetley. Let's start with one of Britain's most trusted names. Tetley, the brand your grandmother probably drank. The one with the cheerful cartoons and the promise of a proper British cuppa. Here's what they don't tell you. Most Tetley tea bags contain plastic, not just the outer wrapper, the actual tea bag itself. Tetley uses polypropylene to seal their tea bags. This is the same plastic used in food containers and bottle caps. Every time you pour boiling water over a Tetley tea bag, you're releasing billions of microplastic particles into your drink. A study from McGill University found that a single plastic tea bag releases approximately 11 billion microplastic particles and 3 billion nanoplastic particles into your cup. 11 billion from one tea bag. These microplastics don't just pass through your system harmlessly. They accumulate in your organs. They've been found in human blood, lungs, and even placentas. Scientists are still studying the long-term effects, but early research links microplastic exposure to inflammation, hormonal disruption, and potential cancer risks. But the plastic isn't even the worst part. Look at what's actually inside those bags. Tetley uses what's called tea dust, or fannings. These aren't whole tea leaves. They're the broken fragments left over after quality tea has been processed and sold to premium brands. Tea dust has significantly less flavor than whole leaves, so manufacturers compensate by adding natural flavoring. But natural flavoring isn't what you think. It's a laboratory-created compound designed to mimic the taste of real tea. Your taste buds can't tell the difference, but your body can. Tetley also sources their tea from massive industrial plantations where pesticide use is rampant. Tea plants absorb pesticides readily, and these chemicals end up in your cup. Tests have found residues of chemicals like endosulfan, quinalphos, and monocrotophos in Tetley tea. These pesticides are linked to neurological damage, reproductive issues, and cancer. The company will tell you the levels are within legal limits, and they are. But legal doesn't mean safe. It just means they won't be prosecuted for slowly poisoning you. Here's something else about Tetley that most people don't realize. The tea sits in warehouses for months before it reaches your kitchen. During this time, it oxidizes, loses flavor, and degrades. Fresh tea should be consumed within months of harvest. Tetley tea is often 6 months to a year old by the time you brew it. You're drinking stale, lifeless tea that's been chemically enhanced to taste acceptable. The aluminum foil pouches Tetley uses for individual bags also contain plastic linings. These linings can leach chemicals into the tea, especially if the pouches are stored in warm conditions. Your pantry might seem cool, but temperature fluctuations cause these chemicals to migrate into the tea leaves. Number 6. PG Tips. PG Tips markets itself as the people's tea. Affordable, reliable, British. Their pyramid bags look fancy and modern. They promise better flavour through room for the leaves to move. It's all marketing nonsense. Those pyramid bags? Also plastic. PG Tips uses a petroleum-based mesh to create its pyramid shape. When hot water hits that bag, you're not just brewing tea, you're brewing a toxic soup of microplastics and chemical leaching. But here's what really bothers me about PG Tips. They claim to use the top 2 leaves and a bud from each tea plant. This is supposed to signify quality, except they're sourcing from such massive, industrialized operations that this claim is essentially meaningless. PG Tips buys tea from plantations in Kenya, India, and Sri Lanka, where workers are paid poverty wages, exposed to dangerous pesticides without protective equipment, and forced to meet impossible quotas. The human cost of your cheap tea is someone else's suffering, and the tea itself, it's heavily processed and blended to create consistency across millions of bags. Real tea should vary slightly from batch to batch because it's an agricultural product influenced by weather, soil, and season. PG Tips taste exactly the same every single time because it's engineered in a factory, not grown on a farm. The pyramid bags also contain more tea dust and fannings than whole leaves. The pyramid shape is designed to make you think you're getting better quality, but you're not. You're getting the same low-grade tea as every other mass-market brand, just in a fancier-looking bag. PG Tips also uses artificial flavouring in many of its specialty ranges. Their fruit-flavoured teas don't contain real fruit. They contain synthetic compounds created to taste like fruit. Your strawberry tea has never been anywhere near an actual strawberry. The company has faced multiple controversies over pesticide residues. In 2014, tests found 17 different pesticides in PG Tips tea, including 2 that are banned in the EU. The levels were technically legal, but the sheer number of different chemicals is alarming. When you drink PG Tips, you're consuming a cocktail of pesticides, microplastics, and artificial flavouring. That's not tea. That's a chemistry experiment. What makes PG Tips particularly deceptive is their marketing around sustainability. They claim to source from Rainforest Alliance certified farms, but certification doesn't guarantee quality or safety. It's a marketing badge that makes consumers feel better about their purchase without actually addressing the fundamental problems with mass-market tea production. The cardboard boxes PG Tips come in are also treated with chemicals to make them water-resistant and durable. These chemicals can transfer to the foil pouches inside, and from there, into your tea. You're getting contamination from multiple sources before you even open a bag. Number 5. Twinings every day. Twinings has a reputation for quality. They've been around since 1706. They supply tea to the royal family. They must be trustworthy, right? Wrong, at least when it comes to their everyday range. Twinings. Everyday is their budget line, designed to compete with Tetley and PG Tips. And to keep costs down, they've sacrificed everything that made Twinings worth buying. The tea in everyday bags is sourced from the cheapest possible suppliers. These are massive industrial operations where quality control is minimal and pesticide use is extensive. Tests have found residues of over 30 different pesticides in various Twinings products. 30 different pesticides in a single cup of tea. These include chemicals like cypermethrin, chlorpyrifos, and imidacloprid. Cypermethrin is a nerve agent that affects the nervous system. Chlorpyrifos is linked to developmental delays in children. Imidacloprid is so toxic to bees that it's been banned in several countries. But Twinings continues to use tea contaminated with these substances because the levels technically comply with UK regulations. Never mind that you're drinking multiple pesticides simultaneously. And nobody has studied the combined effect of consuming 30 different chemicals together. Twinings. Everyday bags also contain plastic. The company has promised to switch to plant-based materials, but as of now, millions of their bags still release microplastics into your tea. Here's something else about Twinings Everyday. The tea is stale. Mass-market tea sits in warehouses for months, sometimes years, before it reaches your kitchen. Tea oxidizes over time, losing flavor and beneficial compounds. By the time you brew it, you're drinking something that's barely recognizable as tea. To compensate for the staleness, Twinings adds natural flavoring. This is code for synthetic compounds created in laboratories. Your Earl Grey doesn't taste like bergamot because it contains real bergamot oil. It tastes like bergamot because it contains a chemical designed to mimic bergamot. The worst part? Twinings charges a premium for its everyday range compared to store brands. You're paying for the Twinings name and getting tea that's no better than the cheapest supermarket option. What's particularly frustrating is that Twinings knows how to make good tea. Their premium ranges use better quality leaves, less processing, and more transparent sourcing. But the everyday range exists purely to compete on price, which means cutting every possible corner. The bleaching process used on Twinings everyday tea bags is another concern. The bags are bleached to make them look clean and white, which consumers associate with purity. But this bleaching uses chlorine compounds that can leave residues. These residues dissolve into your tea when you add hot water. Twinings also blends its everyday tea from multiple sources to maintain consistency and low cost. This means your box might contain tea from 5 or 6 different countries, all of varying quality, all with different pesticide profiles. You have no idea what you're actually drinking. If what you've heard so far has shocked you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're about to reveal the absolute worst offender, and I guarantee it's going to make you rethink everything you know about tea. Number 4. Yorkshire tea. This one will upset people. Yorkshire tea has a cult following. People are fiercely loyal to it. They'll defend it online, insist it's the best tea in Britain, and refuse to drink anything else. But Yorkshire tea has been lying to you. They market themselves as a proper Yorkshire company, traditional and trustworthy. Except Yorkshire tea isn't made in Yorkshire. It's owned by Betty's and Taylor's Group, and while they're based in Yorkshire, the tea is sourced from the same massive international plantations as every other mass-market brand. There's nothing particularly Yorkshire about it except the marketing. Yorkshire tea also uses tea bags that contain plastic. Despite pressure to switch to biodegradable materials, they've been slow to change. As of now, many of their bags still leach microplastics into your drink. But here's what really concerns me about Yorkshire tea. They've been caught up in multiple controversies regarding their supply chain. In 2020, reports emerged about labour abuses on plantations that supply Yorkshire tea. Workers, including children, were being paid below minimum wage and exposed to dangerous pesticides. Yorkshire tea's response was to promise to investigate and improve conditions. But these promises are largely meaningless when your business model depends on buying the cheapest possible tea from massive operations with minimal oversight. The tea itself is a blend of leaves from Assam, Kenya, and Sri Lanka. Sounds exotic, but in practice, this means Yorkshire tea is buying surplus tea that other companies don't want, blending it together and selling it as a premium product. The blend is also heavily manipulated to maintain consistency. Real tea should taste slightly different depending on the harvest season and growing conditions. Yorkshire tea tastes identical year-round because it's processed and blended to eliminate natural variation. Yorkshire tea's specialty ranges are even worse. Their biscuit brew doesn't contain any biscuits. It contains artificial flavouring designed to taste like biscuits. You're drinking chemicals that trick your brain into thinking you're eating food you're not eating. Their decaf range is processed using chemical solvents. While the final product is technically solvent-free, residues remain. You're drinking tea that's been bathed in industrial chemicals to remove the caffeine. The hard water blend that Yorkshire tea promotes is another marketing gimmick. They claim this blend is specially formulated for areas with hard water. In reality, it's just stronger tea with more dust and fannings, so it produces a darker colour in mineral-rich water. You're paying extra for lower quality tea. Yorkshire tea's packaging also contributes to its deceptive image. The traditional-looking design with pastoral imagery creates an impression of small-batch artisanal production. The reality is industrial-scale manufacturing using the same methods as every other mass-market brand. Number 3. Sainsbury's Red Label. Supermarket-owned brand tea is always questionable, but Sainsbury's Red Label is particularly problematic. This tea is sourced from the absolute bottom of the barrel. Sainsbury's contracts with the cheapest suppliers they can find, often buying tea that's been rejected by other companies for quality issues. The result is a product that barely qualifies as tea. It's mostly dust, stems, and broken leaves. When you open a bag, you can see how fine and powdery the contents are. This isn't a sign of quality, it's a sign of industrial processing taken to the extreme. Sainsbury's Red Label also contains significantly higher levels of fluoride than other teas. Tea plants naturally absorb fluoride from soil, but cheap tea uses older, lower quality leaves that contain much more fluoride than young, tender leaves. Excessive fluoride consumption is linked to dental fluorosis, skeletal problems, and potential neurological effects. One study found that drinking cheap supermarket tea could expose you to fluoride levels approaching the safe daily limit. If you're drinking 3 or 4 cups a day, you're exceeding that limit significantly. The tea bags themselves are made with bleach paper and polypropylene sealant. The bleaching process uses chlorine, which can leave behind dioxin residues. Dioxins are highly toxic compounds linked to cancer, reproductive problems, and immune system damage. Every time you brew a cup of Sainsbury's Red Label, you're potentially exposing yourself to dioxins. The levels are low, but dioxins accumulate in fatty tissue over time. Years of daily exposure add up. Sainsbury's also provides no transparency about their supply chain. You have no idea where your tea was grown, how it was processed, or what pesticides were used. They simply don't care enough to tell you. The tea is packaged months before it reaches shelves. By the time you buy it, it's already stale and oxidized. The flavor is flat and bitter, lacking any of the complexity or brightness of fresh tea. To compensate, many people add sugar and milk. You're basically drinking flavored sugar water because the tea itself tastes terrible. At that point, why bother with tea at all? The price point of Sainsbury's Red Label is deliberately set to appeal to budget-conscious shoppers. But what you're saving in money, you're paying in health consequences. The cumulative effect of drinking contaminated, low-quality tea for years is impossible to calculate, but it's certainly not worth saving 50 pence per box. Sainsbury's Red Label also uses tea from the most recent harvest mixed with older stock to stretch their inventory. This means some bags contain tea that's nearly 2 years old. Tea loses its beneficial antioxidants over time. You're drinking something that has almost no nutritional value left. Number 2. Asda Extra Special Gold. The name Extra Special Gold suggests premium quality. The gold packaging reinforces this impression. The price is slightly higher than standard Asda tea, making you think you're buying something better. You're not. Asda Extra Special Gold is a masterclass in deceptive marketing. The tea inside is virtually identical to their standard range. Same sources, same processing, same low quality. The only difference is the packaging and the price. Tests have shown that Asda tea contains some of the highest pesticide residues of any UK supermarket brand. Multiple pesticides have been found in levels that, while technically legal, should concern anyone who drinks this tea regularly. The tea bags use plastic sealant that releases microplastics when exposed to boiling water. Asda has made no commitment to switch to plastic-free alternatives, presumably because it would cut into its profit margins. But here's the most disturbing thing about Asda Extra Special Gold. The tea is often sourced from plantations with documented human rights abuses. Workers are paid poverty wages, forced to work in dangerous conditions, and denied basic labor rights. When you buy Asda tea, you're supporting a system that exploits vulnerable people in developing countries. Your cheap tea comes at the cost of someone else's suffering. The tea itself is bland and flavorless. It requires multiple bags to brew anything resembling a strong cup. This is intentional. By making weak tea, Asda ensures you use more bags, which means you buy more boxes. The gold blend claim is meaningless. There's no regulatory definition for what constitutes a gold blend. It's pure marketing language designed to make you think you're getting something special. Asda Extra Special Gold also contains tea from unnamed sources. The packaging doesn't specify where the tea was grown or how it was processed. This lack of transparency is a red flag. Companies that have nothing to hide are happy to share their sourcing information. The foil pouches used for individual tea bags in the Extra Special range also contain plasticizers that can leach into the tea. These chemicals are used to make the foil more flexible and heat sealable, but they're not food safe when exposed to high temperatures. Asda's supply chain for its tea is deliberately opaque. They work through multiple intermediaries, which means they can claim ignorance about conditions on the actual plantations. This allows them to maintain their profit margins while avoiding accountability for the exploitation and environmental damage their tea purchasing supports. Number 1. Lipton's Yellow Label. And here we are, the worst tea brand in the UK. Lipton's Yellow Label. Lipton's is owned by Unilever, one of the largest corporations in the world. They have the resources to source quality tea, ensure ethical practices, and create a genuinely good product. Instead, they've chosen to maximize profits at every possible opportunity. Lipton's Yellow Label uses the lowest quality tea available on the global market. This is tea that consists almost entirely of dust and fannings. There are virtually no whole leaves. What you're getting is the sweepings from the processing floor, packaged and sold as tea. The tea is sourced from massive industrial plantations where pesticide use is astronomical. Tests have consistently found Lipton's tea to contain some of the highest pesticide residues of any brand sold in the UK. In 2014, Greenpeace tested Lipton's tea and found residues of 34 different pesticides, including several that are banned in the EU. 34. Some of these pesticides are known carcinogens. Others are endocrine disruptors that interfere with hormone function. Unilever's response was to promise to improve its practices. Years later, tests still find dangerous pesticide residues in Lipton's tea. Their promises were empty. Lipton's tea bags contain plastic mesh that releases massive amounts of microplastics into your drink. The pyramid bags look premium, but they're actually worse than standard bags because they contain more plastic. The company has been aware of the microplastic issue for years, but has made minimal effort to address it. Why? Because switching to plastic-free bags would cost money, and Unilever's priority is shareholder profit, not your health. Lipton's also engages in deceptive marketing. They claim to be a sustainable, ethical company. They plaster their packaging with feel-good messages about supporting farmers and protecting the environment. It's all lies. Multiple investigations have revealed labor abuses on plantations that supply Lipton's. Workers are paid below minimum wage, denied basic safety equipment, and exposed to toxic pesticides without protection. Women workers have reported sexual harassment and discrimination. Unilever knows about these abuses. They've been documented repeatedly, yet they continue to source from these plantations because they offer the cheapest tea. When you buy Lipton's yellow label, you're directly supporting a system of exploitation. Your tea is built on human suffering. The tea itself tastes terrible. It's bitter, flat, and lifeless. There's no complexity, no aroma, no character. It's just brown water with a vaguely tea-like flavor. Lipton's compensates for this by adding natural flavoring to many of their specialty ranges. These aren't natural at all. They're synthetic compounds created in laboratories. Your green tea with lemon doesn't contain real lemon. It contains chemicals designed to taste like lemon. The packaging is deliberately misleading. Images of lush tea plantations and happy workers create an impression of quality and ethics. The reality is mechanized industrial operations where tea is treated as a commodity, not a craft. Lipton's also uses tea that's been sitting in warehouses for extended periods. Tea oxidizes over time, losing flavor and beneficial compounds. By the time Lipton's tea reaches your kitchen, it's months or even years old. Fresh tea should be vibrant, aromatic, and flavorful. Lipton's tea is none of these things. It's stale, processed, and chemical-laden. Okay, I know that was a lot. You're probably looking at your tea cupboard right now, wondering what you're supposed to drink. Don't worry, there are genuinely good tea options available. Look for loose-leaf tea from independent suppliers. Companies like Rare Tea Company, Jing Tea, or Postcard Teas source directly from small farms, ensure fair wages, and use minimal processing. The tea is fresher, tastier, and free from pesticides and plastics. The goal isn't to scare you away from tea entirely. Tea can be incredibly healthy when it's produced properly. Real tea contains antioxidants, supports heart health, and provides gentle, sustained energy. But you need to choose tea that's actually tea, not industrial waste packaged in plastic. Have you been drinking any of these brands? And are you shocked by what's really in your tea? Drop a comment below because I want to hear your thoughts. And if this opened your eyes, share it with your friends and family.